Good morning, Willie. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, I know I'm running a little bit on the late side today, but hey, things it's a Monday, and things don't always go right on Mondays for me. Infusions and all this other crap, plus just things. Life in general happens. But anyway, I want to start this stream off as I posted the other day yesterday when I read about it yesterday morning, right when it was first announced. I pray that Joe Biden survives this cancer. I dislike the man politically. I dislike the man on his positions. I dislike the man for what he's done to this country. I dislike the man for things he allowed to be done through the power of his office, whether he knew it was happening or not. It still happened while he was president. And as Harry Truman said, I believe, the buck stops here. And everything that Mayorkas and these other twits did while Biden was in office and allowed to happen, I blame Biden for doing it, for allowing it. There's no two ways about it. Just as I hold Trump responsible for things that happens in his office while he's in office. I mean, if he's going to get credit for it, you got to take the blame for it. But never in my lifetime would I wish cancer on anybody. I would not wish anybody to undergo the pain and the suffering that cancer can lead a family through. It's it's impossible for me to express that enough. Hey, morning, Digi. I need neither cheer or enjoy the fact that Biden has got this level 4 cancer, especially the prostate. If he was a younger and healthier man, I would say that, with the exception of a divine miracle, which I pray actually happens, which I've already prayed that a divine miracle would happen, I would be surprised to see Joe still alive a year from now. And as I said, I wouldn't wish that suffering on anybody. As much as I dislike Jill Biden for what she's done and think she should have been prosecuted for elder abuse for putting Joe through what he went through. Because we all strongly suspect, we don't know for 100%, that's why I say strongly suspect, that if it wasn't for Jill, Joe never would have ran for president. We've watched her in interviews protect him, step in, stop interviews, change subjects, etc. And none of us should forget the day that, Joe, you answered every question after the debate. Her treating him like a 6-year old. That was absolutely disgusting and very telling. The fact that Jill Biden was leading cabinet meetings there at the end. Yeah, did you? Um, and as I said, I'm praying for you and your family. Cancer is an insidious disease that one day I hope that the pharmaceutical companies, if had develop and release to the public a cure for it. We've all heard the accusations from the conspiracy theorists out there, the conspiracy nuts, which unfortunately sometimes, as we all know, what starts off as a conspiracy turns out to be fact. But we've all heard, well, yeah, pharmaceutical companies already have the cure for cancer. They've had it for a long time. It's just they make more money off of treatments than off of cures. I don't know if I'm going to say that's real. We know that you look at that statement and you go, yeah, we know that's true. The pharmaceutical companies do make more. Because you pay once for the cure and it's over and done with. You're constantly paying for treatments. But I don't think I would hope, I would pray that no pharmaceutical company would be so, and no scientist would be so calloused as to have in their possession a treatment or a treatment which would cure cancer and not release it to the public. Yes, I know there are those out there who say that happens, but I would hope that humanity isn't that lost. Now, I've been lucky. As we all know, real life interfered with me this for the past 3 days, where I couldn't even stream on Friday, and y'all would not have wanted to listen to me stream the condition I was in. So, and from my understanding, Ramen was not in the best of shape either. Her migraines are still hitting her up hard. And I've never been one to suffer from migraines, and I've never known anybody personally to see what happens to someone that as they're suffering. I've just seen the renditions that you see on television, but mostly they're actors. So, do any of us really trust that as being accurate rendition of what migraine sufferer goes through? Have there been a few people out here in the world cheering that Joe's gotten this cancer? Unfortunately, yes. There have been some people doing that. And some of them have been using the excuse that uh, liberals cheered and said mean things about Trump when there were assassins attempting, during his 2 assassination attempts, that there are people out there who said, and are still saying, still making posts, about Trump and the assassination attempts, that, you know, start a GoFundMe for you, and we'll uh, make sure you keep money on your books, and we'll make sure your family's well taken care of. Hey, morning, Data. And I had hoped beyond, hope beyond hope, hope after hope, that nobody that calls themselves a Trump supporter, nobody calls themselves a conservative, nobody who calls himself a Republican would go down that same damn road. But unfortunately, there are people who have. Now, the this first thing I'm showing you here, these are left wingers. These are, well, I'm not going to say left wingers. These are people who dislike Trump. These are some of the things that they've posted. Danielle, why couldn't it have been the orange turd instead? D, this is crazy, but it should have been the current president. The tickler, it should Babe been the orange man. Alan, what happened to Biden should have happened to the orange man, not fair. Tim, oh God, not Joe. Why not? Why Joe, not that orange? Lalisa Films, I would rather have been the orange guy, honestly. Joe Normal, it should have been that orange bumbling freak. Cinnamon Girl, it should have been that busted orange bastard. Yampa, should have been Donald Trump, not Joey. Anthony, I speak for everyone when I say it should have been Donald Trump. That's totally uncalled for. But like I said, there's been people out there, saying that. But sadly, like I said, okay, we'll just scroll through some of these. I put in a search term: Trump, Biden, cancer. Kristen Mag, people who despise Biden are saying, I wouldn't wish cancer on anyone. People who despise Trump said he missed. We're not the same. John Hanson, I agree with him. It was wrong when the left celebrated the assassination attempt on Trump, and it's wrong for anyone on the right to celebrate Biden's cancer diagnosis. This whole thing You know, people are saying some meanest, nastiest things possible. And I'm saddened that there's people out there actually doing it. I'm saddened that there's people out there doing. Biden's been dead for years now. The whole Biden cancer thing is simply killing off his character. Now, I find it awfully convenient. The same week Trump is posting about prosecutions over the AutoPen scandal, it's announced that Biden has terminal cancer. Keep people, when a man is sick and possibly going to die, keep politics out of it. You don't let these kind of politics destroy your life. Don't let this hatred, your dislike of a person, grow into such hatred. Did you? I have no idea how old Ramen is. I really don't. Now, these people don't speak for me. As I said, I'm praying for Joe. I'm praying for his family. I don't want to see them suffering. During the White House, of course, yesterday after the announcement and at the presser. Well, here we go. We'll just listen to this. Make sure volume's up. I've got software issues with my mic again this morning, so if anybody can't hear me well, let me know. And I'll try to do something. No guarantees.
On former President Biden's cancer diagnosis, the president put out a very nice message on Truth Social to President Biden directly. Does he intend to call? What does he intend to say directly?
Not to my knowledge. I don't believe they have spoken, but I'm sure the president would be open to doing that. I spoke to him last night about the former president's cancer diagnosis, and the statement that he put out was the initial reaction he had with me on the phone as well. Peter.
Follow up on former President Biden. White House doctors may have missed the early stages of this prostate cancer. So is President Trump worried about the quality of care that presidents get here?
Not as far as President Trump is concerned. The White House physician we have here is phenomenal, and the team of physicians that take care of the president, particularly at Walter Reed Medical Center, are great. The president had his physical recently, as you know. He had perfect results. He's in very good shape. I think those of you who traveled to the Middle East with us last week can attest to the president's endurance. And by the way, I will add, we returned home from a very long and tiring trip last week. And on Saturday, where was the president? In the Oval Office working all day. He doesn't stop. He doesn't quit. He's in great health, and he trusts his physicians.
But what if you...
They brought up a good point. Cancer, especially prostate cancer, there's many ways of catching it. Not catching it, but finding out you've got it. Besides the old finger wave, there's blood testing they can do now. And at my age, 65, I undergo the finger wave. I do the blood works. Hey, morning, Shio. How you doing today? And you are absolutely correct.
And because
Now, Trump Jr., this here's one of the posts that he made in response to this.
it was a 4-lane highway that was accessible, my mother drove us, and rather than us be able to walk. And guess what? The first frost, you know what was happening? You had to put on your windshield wipers to get literally the oil slick off the window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. And
Okay, did you catch that?
I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer. Window. That's why I and so damn many other people I grew up have cancer.
It's possible that 2 years ago Biden was diagnosed with the high probability of having prostate cancer from PSAs. Yeah, we all woke up this morning there. Well, I woke up this morning and I'm a happy man for waking up, even though I woke up an hour and a half later than what I usually get up. But that was at the insistence of the wife. She made me shut my alarms off last night. Prostate cancer doesn't appear at stage 4. Now, I can, especially after he lost his election or after he decided to drop out, which is coming up on a year ago, is when he decided to drop out of the running. They, there's people out there that I cannot disagree with that believe Joe already knew he had prostate cancer then. And there have been people already since yesterday have put forth the idea that Joe knew when he announced he was going to run that he had prostate cancer. And what they were going to do was use that after he won re-election, then suddenly discover he had prostate cancer and had to resign from the office to undergo treatment. Now, of course, that would put Kamala in the office as president. I don't would have, could have, should have, maybes. Let's leave this political machinations alone. Let's put them in the past. Let's not use them. Let's try to be the better person for a change. It sure would be nice if more of us tried to be the better person. This was Trump's immediate response yesterday afternoon. Melania and I are saddened to hear about Joe Biden's recent medical diagnosis. We extend our warmest and best wishes to Jill and the family, and we wish Joe a fast and successful recovery. Now, none of us would expect anything less from a president. Trump is, Trump's a petty man. We all know it. He holds grudges. Hey, Snuggie, good morning. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, Data, I heard the recordings. Hey, morning, Mike. I heard the recordings. I was at work listening to them through Monkey Stream, and then I listened to what Monkey skipped over later. Yeah, I mean that's that. No wonder the Democrats did everything they could to keep those under the wraps. Then when they finally were going to had to be released to a friendly organization like Axios. And like I said earlier, you know, given Biden's medical issues, his dementia, now his cancer and everything else, while I have a lot of sympathy for him, I still want him held responsible for what happened during his term in office. And anybody and everybody who knew that Joe's mental facilities were down like they were, and I'm talking anybody from his pressers there, his DEI presser, his redhead presser, to his chief of staff, to Kamala, to anybody on the cabinet. All those people should be held responsible for lying to the American public. Whether they lied by actually saying, yeah, Joe is fantastic, he's mentally sharp, he's not dropped a stitch, yada, yada, yada. Or to whether they lied by omission, they lied by keeping silent. Every one of those people need to be held accountable for their actions or inactions. I'm sorry, Snuggie, and I know a lot of people who believe that as you do, okay? And I seriously can't fault you for that. I just disagree. There comes a point where your humanity, your empathy, your humanity has to override your disagreements with an individual. Now, if Joe, there's some people are harder to forgive, to feel that empathy for than others. If somebody were to hurt my wife, my child, my grandchildren, my daughter-in-law, they had better hope I never tracked them down. Because I would hurt them in every way I possibly could. And I'd probably laugh while doing it. And while Joe, I fully agree, Joe did great harm to this country. And particularly his greatest harm in the long run was his lack of securing the borders. Pissing away billions of dollars, yeah, that hurts the country too. But that's something that can be recovered from. All the illegals he allowed in the country, that's going to prove to be a greater lasting harm, particularly with the judges doing everything they can to prevent the deportation of those illegals. Now, Rubin Report's getting ready to come online. More evidence of a cover up of Biden's prostate cancer diagnosis. The mere fact that 4 months out of office, he suddenly got stage 4 prostate cancer. And prostate cancer doesn't advance that quickly. That in 4 months you jump up to stage 4. My brother died of cancer as very, very quickly. From the time of diagnosis to the time of death was 7 months. But he'd been showing symptoms for several months before. He just didn't, typical male, I guess you would say. He just didn't go to the doctor in time to get it caught. But he had a very virulent form of cancer. It started in his, I honestly don't know where it started. I know that it infected his brain. I know it infected his bladder, and it affected his kidneys. But where it actually started, I don't know. I've always assumed it started off in his bladder. But again, I don't know. But this doesn't, 5 months, there's no way. Let's see here. I've got an interview by a doctor that was done by MSNBC. Where did it go? Close that tab. Here we go. This is MSNBC, so obviously I'm going to have to interrupt it quite a few times, but it is what it is. It's only 2 minutes, so.
Going to run for president for another 4 years. Obviously, the PSA exam is not 100% accurate, and I've never met a doctor that doesn't say you needed to do the PSA exam and also have the physical exam as well. I just find it hard to believe that any White House physician wouldn't say, okay, well, what my doctor and what every other doctor says, which is, okay, we've done the PSA test and that's fine, but at least once a year, we need to do a physical exam again.
Once a year, go in and have the finger wave done. And, we joke about it, but, it is true. Look at your doctor's hands first. You don't want fat fingers going up your butt.
If you're just talking about a 78-year-old guy that is not running the free world, that's one thing. But if you're a White House physician and you have any man over 40 years old, are you not going to at least say, hey, once a year, like every other physician says, once a year, we need to do a physical exam and check, because this is like one of the leading causes, one of the leading sicknesses for men over 40.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, I think 100%. And did they do a digital rectal exam to assess his prostate? Again, typically that's done in the presence of symptoms. To your point, he's the leader of the free world. Did they do it and not characterize it? It's hard to know. We're speculating here. I would say in an abundance of caution, probably be holistic and comprehensive. That would make sense. It is interesting to note that President Trump's, President Obama's, and President Bush II, in their most recent physicals, in their terms of office, obviously 2025 for President Trump, did comment on their PSA levels. And so they got screened while in office and they commented on it. It's not easy to access the most recent ones from President Biden. You can read the summary articles. I couldn't access it on the archive site on the White House just before I came on. But according to those that were able to, there is not a report of a PSA test on the most recent physical that was read out for President Biden's last year in office. And so it's to say what was done, what was not done. You and I would be speculating, but the other three most recent occupants of the White House had it drawn and it was reported out. In the case of President
Did they hide the medical records? I mean, we've seen what the media does when it comes to Trump and his, how much weight has he been told to lose? How much, what's his cholesterol levels? What's this level? What's that level? Are you telling him to lose weight? Are you putting him on dietary restrictions? Since he drinks so much Coca-Cola and loves McDonald's so much, what's his chances of having a heart attack? Is he pre-diabetic or is he diabetic? Yada, 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 yada. But I don't remember him doing a single thing like that and serious questions about Joe during his 4-year term. And just as a comparison here, Jake Tapper, the man who has that new book out about how the media hid and how the White House hid he just has better friends with Trump. Yep. But let's listen to these two different interviews. Jake Tapper. October 18th, 2020. Laura Trump is on being interviewed by Jake Tapper.
Is very clearly a cognitive. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You have
to watch
no
somebody on
you
stage
I can't.
search for
It's so amazing.
questions
It's so amazing to me that
and try and figure out an answer.
a cognitive
Well, when
decline.
you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were
stuttering, I had
mocking his
no
stutter.
idea, Joe
Yeah,
Biden.
I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have.
You hear, 5 years ago, he's all over Laura Trump. You're mocking his stutter. He doesn't have a cognitive decline. He's got a stutter. How dare you claim he's got a cognitive decline?
You have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think
I'm not
that
diagnosing,
somebody in
I'm
the
saying
Trump
that
family would be more
Joe
sensitive
Biden of
to people who
today
do not have medical
not the Joe
licenses,
Biden of 5
diagnosing
years ago,
politicians
of 10
from
years ago.
afar. In our 2020
How dare you diagnose a politician from afar?
lead today, President Trump's niece, who is a
And now, what is that, 9 days later? Laura Trump on October 18th, 2020. 9 days later, October 27th, 2020.
clinical psychologist, is calling on the American niece, who is a clinical psychologist, is calling on the American Psychiatric Association to drop the so-called Goldwater rule, which bars mental health professionals from diagnosing public figures that they have not examined in person. Mary Trump says that psychiatrists, quote, know what's wrong with my uncle. And she says it's time they tell voters. And Mary Trump joins us now. She's also the author of Too Much and Never Enough.
Mary Trump, now, of course, hates her uncle. She's hated him for years. Why? I don't know. We just know she does.
How my family created the world's most dangerous man.
Come on, Jake. 1 minute you're telling us that, everybody hid Joe Biden's mental decline, while previously, 5 years earlier, we've got video of you yelling that there was no decline. How dare anybody claim that they noticed a decline in Biden's actions and his speech? That draws into question his mental acuity. Once again, I've been lucky. I've never been personally exposed to somebody suffering from dementia. My brother-in-law had sundowners, but I was not personally involved with him. My sister was. My family, but they live they lived a 17-hour drive away from where I live. And I had not seen him. My God, I had not actually seen him in 15, before he died, I'd not seen him in 10, 15 years. For some reason, whenever I did go home, he decided that he didn't want to come visit. Or if I was invited over to my sister's house, he would be out and about doing other things. I mean, he was a nice guy. When when I first started needing to have to use a cane, he handmade me a cane. Very nice cane. That I still use today around the house on occasion. But I just know stories about what he went through, what he was like as he, suffered from sunsetters. how violent he got, violent outbursts. And even once he was put into the hospital because my sister could no longer deal with him, and how violent, and in the evenings, how violent he would get with the nurses and staff. But they knew how to deal with him, how to treat him, and that's what they got paid for. Boy, they got paid good money for that too. It's like $5,000 a month for him to be there. It was not cheap. The only thing they didn't take away from my sister was her home. They made her sell damn near everything of value before Medicare and Medicaid, one of them took over payments for him. But my older sister was left all but a pauper. They didn't take away her house or her car. That's the only good thing. But they garnished his retirement check. They took his entire retirement check. And and anything that he had, any bank accounts or anything he had in his name, they took all of that. His retirement fund, all of it. And when he was spent down to zero, that's when, they left very little for my sister to live on. But anyway, that's not what you guys are listening to me for. But I mean, I'm just saying that's as close as I've come to dealing with anybody with dementia. But I mean, even I noticed. I mean, we all noticed Joe's meanderings, him getting lost on stage, talking to people that weren't there. I mean, we all remember Obama having to lead him off the stage at one particular time. So, yeah, there's too much there, but damn it. When we were going after him for his dementia, that was because as president, he was causing harm to our country with it because he was letting people do things that under his name. There's still questions and viable questions about all those pardons that he signed there at the end. I mean, let's see. Let's see. Come down here. Okay, let's see here. One, two, three, four, five pardons just for people by the name of Biden. Then Daryl Chambers, Cromody, Fauci. Yes, Fauci. Marcus Garvey. Gave him a pardon for, I mean, he was defrauding, using mail to defraud. Lundgren, General Miley, for any offenses against the United States, including but not limited to offenses under the United States Code or Uniform Code of Military Justice, which he may have committed or taken part of from 1 January 2014 through the day of this pardon. Then, of course, all the members who served on the select committee to investigate the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol for any offenses against the United States which they may have committed or taken part in arising in any manner of activity subject to the select committee. In other words, the destruction of government property, government records. I would love to see, going a little bit off tangent here, jumping the track for a few minutes. I would love to see a law passed that any elected official who intentionally lies to the public from the floor of the Congress, Senate floor, House floor, during a press conference, that they intentionally lie, misrepresent facts. And I don't care which party they're from, that is reason for expulsion from Congress. They provably lie. That I would love to see that be there. I get so tired of seeing these people lying. Let's see here. Biden did a total of 80 pardons and 4,165 commutations. He granted 29% of all requests for clemency. Trump did 144 pardons his first 4 years with 94 commutations. And he was only 2%. Let's see here. Who had the highest? Truman had the highest at 41%, it looks like. Yeah. 41% of all requests he took action on. But they're looking at these auto-penned ones. Why? I remember the stink it caused when Obama did the first auto-pen on a law. He was bragging about it, how he would, while he was in Air Force One, a machine in the White House was putting his signature to a law. Now, I had problems with it then, and there was a minor kerfluffle about it. But I've never changed my mind on it that any official paperwork requires that the president physically sign it. Because otherwise, how does that person know what's actually having his signature put to? How do you actually know what's in that unless you know, if you actually have to sign it, be there and physically sign it, then you can be held accountable for every word that's in there. I don't know about you guys, but I rarely never read every word on something I sign. I drove my real estate lawyer nuts when I was giving property to my son. Because I refuse, I mean, and then when we bought the new house, I drove him nuts because I read, I mean, especially buying the house, the documentation was like 30 or 40 pages long. And I sat there and read every word of it. Drove them nuts because it's like, just sign it already. That was the wife. Just sign it already. We're paying them to do this for us. You know, we got to trust them. Look, I didn't read everything once, and look what it got me, 20 years in the military. No thanks. I'm reading everything I got that I'm being told to sign here. So and if I got questions, I can ask. But a president needs to be held to that same standard. Any lawmaker needs to be held to that standard, that they either sign it in person or the paperwork wasn't signed. I've got some real estate issues I've got to deal with here, Digi. And it's going to cost me about $500 to talk to lawyers and have them tell me what I need to do or don't need or can't do. But I'm going to get everything that they tell me in writing. And I'm going to record the entire conversation I have with them. That way, if something goes wrong, I can say, but this is what the lawyers have told me. And I can then hold the lawyers responsible for anything, any misreadings of the law. Let's say, because I don't trust anybody. Exactly. I will keep that recording. I will have it transcribed. And there will be no two doubts about anything that happened. Because when I'm getting ready to spend probably close to $30,000, this is going to get ridiculous. But anywho, F cancer, Joe Biden, I'm praying for you. I hope you get healed. I hope you're not suffering any undue pain or other discomforts. Gentlemen, get your PSAs done once a year. Get that finger wave done once a year. I know it's uncomfortable as hell to have that finger stuck up your backside, but get it done. I don't like it any more than you do, believe me. I think that, besides that discomfort, I think the next most uncomfortable thing after that is cleaning up all that goop. They hand you that a couple of paper towels so you can wipe yourself, and it feels like you're just spreading more of it around. I would not wait until you actually turned 40. I mean, if you've still got, if you're still in your early 20s, late 20s, early 30s, hey, more power to you. But at least request PSAs. when you go in for, go in once a year for general physical and request PSAs be done. Start that when you're in your mid 30s. Request it to get done. Get that blood work done. Try to catch that crap early. Like you catch your blood sugar. You want to catch your blood sugar issues early. You want to catch your cholesterol issues early. And I know these over-the-counter vitamins and such aren't cheap. I've got to take 4,500 milligrams of L-arginine a day. So that means I'm buying a 3,000 bottle, a 1,000 bottle, and a 500 bottle. Those 3 bottles cost me $100. And they last me about 2 months. Then I've also got to take a cinnamon, vitamin C, a zinc, a B12, CoQ10. I think that's it. That's another $100 every couple of months. Taking all those. And that's on top of my prescription drugs, which run about another $70, $80 a month. So, yeah. Go get your blood work done, guys, and make certain that you're getting everything you need to be. There's something else here I wanted to show. What was it? Oh, the Mexican Navy ship that crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. 2 people died. The video of that is something else. Let's see here. Let me share. Have y'all seen the video of that Mexican ship colliding into the Brooklyn Bridge? This is something else. Now you can see people up here on the top.
What's up with that boat?
Another angle of it.
Into the Brooklyn Bridge. It's totally crashing. Look, the sails are hitting it. Look. Oh my God.
What is going on?
Absolutely something else there. Let's see. I'm not going to worry about that anymore. Not going to worry about that. And I think that's about all I've got here for this morning. Yeah, Digi, that proved that the Brooklyn Bridge at least can stand up to a couple of Mexican Navy masts running into it. Now, I do understand 2 men were killed. I've heard rumors, but guys know me. I don't like spreading rumors. So until I see something factual, I don't know what exactly happened. Why they would attempt to put that ship underneath the bridge like that, knowing that, I mean, it's pretty well known how much clearance there is. And it's not like it was, the top, they were off by a foot or so, the tide came in and they were off by a foot. There were yards of that mast that got knocked off. So I'm just glad more people weren't hurt and it doesn't look like the bridge was permanently damaged. Tomorrow's I've got some video about the Mexican cartels and how the Mexican president feels about it. Some commentary about that. I'm still digging up some other videos from what they've said before, what Scheinheim has said before about the Mexican cartels versus what she's saying now. But other than that, ladies and gents, I want to thank you all for coming out and listening to me here this morning. Obviously, I'm feeling a lot better today than what I was on Friday. Friday was bad. Oh my God, that was horrible. Friday and most of Saturday. But I will say, I got in almost 7,000 steps on Saturday, and no matter how much that hurt doing, I did it. But everybody have a good day. Enjoy yourselves. And we'll see you tomorrow. Be with the ones you love and love the ones that you're with.